We're now in the Module 6 project. So I've opened up the project notebook. As usual, do not watch this video until you have attempted these exercises on your own. You can also look at the solutions in the solutions notebook. All right, exercise 1, create a range that defines a sequence of all integers from 0 to but not including 100. So that's the simple range where we just put in one number, the stop. So by default, the start is 0. We don't have to say it's 0. So that will work. By the way, you can explicitly say 0 like this, 0, 100. That's actually what it gets output, but it is just unnecessary. And you will typically just write it like this with just the stop if this start is in fact 0. Okay, moving on to number 2. Create a range that defines a sequence of all the integers from 100 to but not including 200. So this time we do have a start and a stop, so it's just 100, 200. Number 3, create a range that defines a sequence of every fourth integer from 100 to but not including 200. So we go from 100 to 200, and this time we're going to do a step. So start, stop, step, 100, 200, 4. Number 4, create a range that defines a sequence of every 20th integer from 0 to but not including 200. So notice that the 0 is here, so you might think, all right, well, we can skip it and just do this, but that's not correct. Because if you get it 2 integers, it'll treat the first one as the start and the second one as the stop. So you actually have to put in 0 here to get it correct. So start at 0, stop at 200, step at 4. Number 5, is the number 87,649 a member of a sequence defined as every 113th integer from 0 to 100,000? Okay, so let's first create this sequence. So 0 to 100,000. Now I'll use the underscore here to separate the thousands from the hundreds, so it's easier to read. And every 113th integer, so that's the step size. Now in order to test this, we need to write down 87,649. Is it in this range? So that's how you test it, and that is false. Number 6, what is the 100th integer from the sequence defined as every 113th integer from 0 to 100,000? Okay, so we got to get the 100th integer. It's the same range. Let's go ahead and create that. So I'm going to use these square brackets here, and I want to select the 100th integer, which is index 99. So if you put 100, that's okay. I'm not trying to trick you here, but so this will be the 100th integer, 11,187. Exercise 7, create an empty list and assign it to A. Okay, let's just do that now. And then pass it to the bool constructor and output the returned value. So hopefully you should know this already. The Boolean value of an empty list is false. Then append an item to the list and pass it to the same constructor and output the return value. So let's append some item. That's what it's saying. We'll append 99, and let's go ahead and look at this. So it's a one item list, and it looks kind of funny because it's just one item. But if we now pass it to the bool constructor, it will evaluate as true. So any non-empty list, it doesn't matter how short the list is or whatever is in it, as long as it has one or more items in it, it will evaluate as true when you pass it to the bool constructor. Does the string 0 evaluate as true or false when passed to the bool constructor? So let's just do 0 that's not a string. That's the integer 0, which will evaluate as false. The string 0, however, is a different story. It evaluates as true. That's because it's just a non-empty string. It doesn't matter that this is the character 0. It can be any character as long as it's not an empty string. So let's just show an empty string here, and we see that that evaluates as false. All right, exercise 9. Turn the string s into the integer 4 using 2 constructors. So this is probably the most interesting exercise thus far. So how can I make it into just the integer 4 is now a string 4.6. So the first thing we can do is turn it into an actual float like this. And I can say f equals that. So now we have the float 4.6. It's an actual number. And then we can use the int constructor. We'll pass that float in there and we'll get 4. So the int constructor just returns the integer part. You can do this in one step like this. So first in Python, this gets evaluated. That's inside of the parentheses. So first the float of s gets evaluated. That turns it into the turns the string 4.6 into the float 4.6, and then integer 4.6 of the float will return 4. Exercise 10, extract the integer part of string s, and then use a single constructor to return the integer 4. So we're doing exercise 9 in a different way. So how can I extract the integer part? Well, what I wanted you to do is to use the square brackets to select the first character. So put 0 in there, index 0. That is the string 4. And then what I can do is I can pass this into the int constructor like this to formally make it the integer 4 and not just a string. So that's how you do that one. Number 11, the sum of the digits of the number 826 is 16. Use the string constructor to help you sum these digits. So let's say I have some number, 826, and I want to sum up its digit. So 8 plus 2 plus 6. So how can I do that? So what I can do is I can turn this into a string first. So this is what I wanted you to do. Turn this into a string. Then I can access each digit. So that's the only way to access, or really that's, this is one way to access actually for the problem, it is the way to access each of those digits one at a time. So there's S of 0, here is S1, and here is S2 like that. So if it's a string, then I can select each individual, character. It's not an integer yet. I can't add them together, but so the string constructor is needed here to convert that integer to a string so I can use these square brackets and select individual characters. Okay, so now we need to convert these strings back to integers. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use the int constructor. I'm going to convert this string, it's just the character 8, back into an actual integer 8. And now I can do the same with the other ones. All right, so now I can add two integers together. So this will do 8 plus 2. And now for the last one, 8 plus 2 plus 6. And that will give me 16. So that's how you can use the string constructor and also the int constructor to add the digits together. Okay, exercise 12. What is the 50th number in the integer sequence that begins at 813 and steps up by 41? Okay, so it doesn't give you an end here. It just says begins at 813. Let's go ahead and create a range here. So it begins at 813. Well, we can just say it ends at a very large number, like say 1 million. So we can just guess. It says steps by 41. So we can figure out just using multiplication, but really the idea here is to use a range. So we'll just say the end is 1 million, just so that we can overshoot it and make sure we have the 50th. The sequence does have 50 members. Okay, so it's going to step by 41. So start at 813, that's what the problem says. Go to some very large number that will at least have 50 numbers in it, and then steps by 41. And then to get the 50th number, well, we'll just put in the number 49, the index 49, which is the 50th number. So we can see that 2,822 is the answer. Okay, so that does it for the project for Module 6.